Cool. And then can you guys also see this MLS?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I'm going back and forth.
Well, we see ultimate CMA. That's what we see right now.
Ultimate CMA. Okay,
Yeah, your
so
spreadsheet. So maybe
okay,
not
so
the
you can't see
MLS.
my MLS. Okay. So let me stop share.
Okay.
And let me go open up the MLS here and make sure that gets on, and then we will hold on one second.
You may have to use share desktop.
Yes, that's what I want to do. Okay,
Okay.
hold on. Let me find you again because I lost your screen on here. Okay, there you are, Nakia. Okay, so share desktop. There we go. Okay. Good deal?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right, cool. So you guys can see my MLS screen?
Yes. Canopy.
All right.
It says Canopy MLS.
Yeah. All right, we're in business. Thank you. Okay. So, all right, let me drag this down here. So let me give you just a little bit of background. A lot of you guys know me from EXP and revenue share and all that stuff, but I was a real estate appraiser for 8 years. And my evaluation is a little different than what you learn in school or on YouTube. We evaluate real estate like appraisers because that's what I was taught by. And we don't use price per square foot because that's about as accurate as throwing a hand grenade. Please don't ever use price per square foot unless you're talking brand new construction that's got 3 different models in the neighborhood, and you can use a very, very broad approach. Let's talk about how to evaluate real estate. So what I did as a listing agent, I sold 43 million in 2017 to give you an idea of how, emerged I was in the listing side. So as a listing agent, I went after expired listings and for sale by owners. Whole nother class, but I pulled up an expired today that we're going to use as a candidate. Okay, so this is a one-on-one class. If you guys want to evaluate a modern house or a farm or an atypical property, we can do that stuff. I'll do plenty of these classes, but just to get everybody who's a white belt on page 1, we're going to pull a house in a subdivision. Makes it easier. Okay, so let's go on here and pull the expired listing, and let's rock and roll. So let's see what we got here. Okay, and then the MLS number that I pulled was 355-4180. Okay, and of course it doesn't pull up. So let's go under here. I'll just put in the address. Oh, I pulled an expired listing, so that's probably why. 355-4180. Okay, so I pulled this property on Flower and Grove Lane. So for all of us Charlotte agents or Lake Norman agents, this is a property that's in Mooresville on the east side of town. It's in a neighborhood called Cherry Grove. I consider this the 6th borough of New York. You could drive through there with a Yankees shirt and people will start yelling out the window, welcome to the neighborhood, or a Mets shirt. So they're pretty much houses that were built in the early 2000s. I remember when these were being built, there was 3 different builders in there. They're nice. This is a nice, clean subdivision, pretty good turnover. And if you look at this property, this thing expired on, it was marketed on October of last year and it expired in March after 177 days on the market. All right, so let's just look at our screen here. So 177 days it didn't sell. We have a couple problems, right? Either the realtor, they listened to the realtor and the realtor was wrong, or they didn't listen to the realtor. It's one of those 2 issues, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to find out what this thing is worth. And then any one of you guys that have the tenacity to go back after this listing with what we accomplished here today, we will go out there and relist this and sell it. Okay, so this is a good prospecting call for anybody that wants to go for it. We know the address. You can go knock on the door and tell them everything that went wrong. Show them exactly what's right. So 177 days on the market, too long. Melissa Yates, I don't know her, from Lantern Realty and Development, not a big real estate company. Maybe she's fantastic. Maybe she's not. We don't know. So let's do some research and evaluate where we're at. Okay. So I always look at little things that could have gone wrong, not to turn this into a listing appointment meeting, but, I see they're paying 3% to the buyer's agent. She has a really nice write-up about the house. I would change a couple things on here, but all thorough. She has the directions, HOA information. She filled out every box. To me, this looks like a professional job, just at a glance. Okay, so what are we going to do here? Well, we have to find out which sales in here best bracket. So when you're doing a sales comparison grid, which is this form that we're going to spend time on the chat box at any time, take your time, put your email in, and I will upload, I will send this CMA to your email for you guys to utilize. Give me a day or two, I'm slammed, I will get it over to you, okay? So in the chat, I'll take a picture of that at the end, and we'll get this grid. And it's able to be manipulated. You can adjust, change everything, put your name, put your logos, brand it all out, okay? So we have a house in Cherry Grove. So you always want to pull the most comparable things that you can, right? So it was at 325, 3,000 square feet, looks pretty standard. I always look at the photos, you know, see what we got here. They got 41 photos on here. I printed them up. So I printed up a color full report because I'm going to write subject on this. And when I go over there and pitch them on what went wrong last time, I'm really going over there as an appraiser, and I'm a consultant. And if they like what I'm saying, then they're going to pay me 3% and we're going to sell this thing. So I put subject on the top. When we find the comps, I'm going to put comp 1, comp 2, comp 3. And I'm going to print in color all of the photos. So when I'm showing them the comparable sales, they can hold the paper and look at the pictures. Okay, you don't have to go in their house and use an internet connection or do any of that stuff. You're able to operate like 1985, which works perfectly right now. You can send them all the digital signatures on the contracts and all that stuff. But most importantly, they want to be able to see what you're talking about. So that's my source. So let's go into the search and let's go into residential. And I want to look, my first search is pretty broad. All right, so I'm going to type in Cherry Grove. And I'm also going to type in the zip code in case there's more than one Cherry Grove in the Charlotte MLS. So we had 24 things pop up. So let's just take a real quick view on what this looks like. So we have 2 active listings. Anybody think that's a good sign? We're not competing with a lot of people in this neighborhood. If your aunt and uncle live in Cherry Grove and your friends from New Jersey moved to Cherry Grove and you want to move to Mooresville and you want to have the least amount of acclimation as possible, you have 2 properties to look at. One's at 429, one's at 415. And then here is our subject that struck out at 325 last year. So if we go on the market with the 3 in front of the list price, we are going to be the only listing that you can buy in the 3s in Cherry Grove. I find that to be a very positive thing. What does that mean to me? Well, I mean, it means to me that we probably have a low inventory situation, and that if I have to push the numbers, this is not something that's going to come back to bite me in the rear end. I mean, we have a monopoly, right? So I like that. Then I look at all the under contract sales. Look at this. So we've got, let's click on this, active listing, 2 days on the market. So that one's going to probably sell pretty fast. Active listing, 6 days on the market. Oh, eXp Realty, good job. Okay, so next listing, under contract, 379. So now we're in the 3s. This one took 2 days to sell. 2 days, okay? Next one, 360. This one took 1 day to sell. Okay, next one. This took 48 days to sell. Next one, 0 days to sell. Unbelievable. Ginny Barker. I love Ginny Barker. She was my Mooresville welcoming person when I moved here in 2005. She was in my living room for an hour and then became a realtor and killed it. Flower and Grove Lane, same street that I'm on as the subject property. Ginny Barker again, struck again. 25 days on the market, 169 total. Okay, so just keep looking. 1 day on the market. 7 days on the market. Okay. All right, now we're to close sales. Okay, so just to give you a real quick idea, does anyone here think that we need a listing contract for 180 days? But you know, your Allen Tate or Keller Williams or Remax agent that's taught by their broker in charge is going to go there with all their listing paperwork and have a sit down pitch with them and go through all of these charts and how great the company is. And they're going to put a 6-month contract in front of them. And these people are going to say, we just had a bad experience. We didn't sell. I don't want to be married to somebody that I don't know. And I'm not sure that I want to go through this whole process again. Or you go there and say, hey, listen, my name is Rich Tomasini. I'm with eXp Realty. I saw that your house was listed for $325 and it didn't sell. It's been now 6 or 7 months since it's listed. So you've gone through that terrible wave of new agents out of school calling to list your house for sale. Bet you nobody's calling you right now. I did a full CMA. One of my colleagues is a former real estate appraiser. We did a full CMA on your house, and this is exactly what your house is worth. And every house, let's see, 9 through 3, all 6 houses that are under contract sold out, with one exception, in less than a week. So what I'd like to do is propose to you that your agent was wrong or your agent was right and you didn't listen to them. I'm not sure which one it is. You can tell me. And this is exactly what the house is worth. We're going to add 2 or 3% on top of the price that I come up with. So we have some wiggle room. Not that you need a whole lot of wiggle room when we only have a day on the market, probably getting full list price. And I want to list the house for 30 days. It's a short engagement. 30 days, I think we're going to sell this thing very, very quickly. And I need compliance on 2 fronts. I need you to allow me to do all the marketing the way that I do it. And 2, I need you to approve the price. And if you feel good about both of those things, everything that we sign from this point on is good news. Okay. So I'm going to get professional photos, a professional person to measure the house. I'm going to update it and put it on the MLS on my social media. It's going to leach out the 54 websites on IDX. It's going to be all over the internet on Zillow and Realtor.com and every real estate site under the sun. Virtual tours, people that don't want to go into a house, we can do Matterports and show them all of that stuff. And then I'm going to, all that's out of my pocket. And then once we get the house showing, I'm going to have you approve every showing and give you feedback on all of the showings. We'll probably be in a multiple offer situation based on how little inventory there is. We're only competing with 2 houses. They're both in the 4s. Everything else is selling in 1 to 2 days or 2 hours. And then I am going to walk you through the entire process of due diligence. And then we're going to end up at the attorney's office and you're going to sign, and I'm going to get paid only then if we succeed and the process is nice, right? So we don't have a lot to lose here, but the most important thing is determining if your price is right, because there's 2 key ingredients when you're a listing agent. You have to have a property that's not in left field on price, and you have to have good marketing. If you get those 2 things in this kind of marketplace, you're sold. Okay. So let's go back and change the criteria. Let's get rid of coming soon and active listings, right? Because we need closed sales to determine the valuation. So that drops us to 15. It's still quite a large number. So I'm going to narrow this thing down a little bit. And I'm not going to narrow it down by price because we don't know what the price is. They were listed for 325, but they could be off 50 grand, or they could be perfectly priced. We don't know. So let's just go in here to the square footage. We're at 3,000 square feet. So let's just go 2,500 to 3,500. So let's go 500 square feet in both directions. That reduces us to 7 sales. So hit results. Everybody thumbs up. You can see the screen. Is this all going okay? All right, good. Okay. So Cherry Grove shows you all the houses in here. Perfect. Okay. So 3,200 square feet sold for 360, 2,600 sold for 305. So let's just take a real quick observation. Small houses sell for less, large houses sell for more. We'll figure out what that difference is. 342 for 3,200 square feet. So there's a difference in this price and this price. There's a 20 grand bump here, and these guys are almost the same square footage. So let's look at that. This one here at 365, he's more in line with this one. So this one seems to be lesser than 296 for a small house, 305 for a small house, 379 for a large house. So I think we have it bracketed pretty well, right? We have smaller homes, 2,600, 2,700, 2,500, and we have larger homes, 3,300, 3,100, 3,200, 3,200. We don't have any perfectly similar houses at 3,000, but that's the way life is. So we're going to work with what we have. So let's just take a real quick scroll these guys and see what we got. Oh, we got a pool. Okay. Now the subject property doesn't have a pool. So I'm going to eliminate this one, right? But that explains why he's so high, really, frankly. Okay, so let's get rid of him. This one here is full brick. We're full brick. That looks like a match. 2,600 square feet. It's not letting me look at the photos the way that I like to see them. Here it goes. Okay, so this one looks like it's in a little bit more upgraded condition than the subject. Sorry, I go fast, but we only got an hour here, so you could take your time through this process, okay? So these are exactly the photos you don't want to have when you're listing a house. Okay, it looks like it's got brick on the front and vinyl on the back, right? So this is a good comp. So we're going to check the box. All right, next one, Laurel Glen. So let's click on this one. And looks good. Nice countertops, clean, nothing too crazy. Looks like the day it was when it was new. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll through these photos real quick to see if anything pops up like they have 24 karat gold faucets that somebody put in, or a pool in the backyard, or sauna, or anything that we should just note. Okay, so it looks pretty basic, big deck, easy. Okay, so let's click it, right? So we have one smaller, one bigger. Very good, we're doing good. Next one here, another brick house, 365. Let's see what we got here. Oh, first thing I want to do, by the way, is check to make sure we don't have a basement. Okay, so this looks again like a very nice house. Very big. All these homes look very similar to me. Okay, looks like they put some nice flooring in the master bedroom, and it looks like they still have linoleum in the bathrooms. So I would say that all these houses are pretty much middle of the road the way they came. Some new carpet, reasonably well maintained. All right, so this one's on the high side for the square footage. Still haven't figured out exactly why that is. Could be an outlier. Took 22 days to sell, so the market doesn't agree with that. It's an outlier. Kind of got consumed fast. So I'll check it. Let's see. Next one here, 296, 2,700 square feet. Let's look at this one. All right, again, a lot of what we've seen, this looks like it hasn't been up, like it's totally original, right? Just really nicely maintained, I think. All right, so we're just gonna scroll through these things. So I do a CMA in about 30 minutes. It takes me longer to fill in the form than it does to do all this stuff, but this is not a stressful process. You guys shouldn't be stressed out by this. This looks like it's not on as maybe nice of a lot, kind of looks a little chintzier in the backyard, not a lot of landscaping. So I kind of see why it went under 300. I don't know if this is the best comp. It's not brick like the subject, so let's skip that guy for now. Crimson Orchid Drive, 305. Let's see what we got. Brick, at least on the front, brick on the front. Okay, now we're talking. Apples to apples again, guys. This is maybe even a little dressier than the house that we're looking at. Okay, just scrolling through, right? Always put the maximum amount of photos on here. Don't do this. All right, so we check on him, although he's really the biggest square footage difference, 500 square feet. He's really on the small side. So I'm gonna kind of skip on him for 1 second. And then we'll go, this other one is the highest price. So let's go back. Let's click this one. And then let's take a look at this last one that was on the highest range. All right, so this one's kind of sitting on a nice elevation here. Looks like it's got a little bit more space and it's got a 3-car garage versus a 2-car garage. It's got a covered screen porch. This is nicer. So we're gonna eliminate this one. So let's go back. We've got 4 sales, all right? I'm gonna click on this and I'm gonna print them on my computer, and I'm gonna print the agent full with photos, because guess what? We're gonna show the expired owner what we compared him to, and he's gonna be able to look at this, okay? The last thing I wanna do real quick while we have this sheet up is, let's make sure nobody's backing power lines or a road. So I'm gonna just click on the map. So sale 1, okay, just backs other houses, no harm. Sale 2, looks like it just backs other houses. Sale 3, backs other houses. And sale 4, oh, sale 4 backs a creek and a little wooded area. Important to know. So is that worth something? Well, we'll find out, but we know that there's a difference. Thank you, brother. There's a difference in that one versus the 3. So as of right now, when we're talking apples to apples, sale 1, 2, and 3 all have the same view of the subject. Now, if we have somebody that, let me move the screen here for a second, that backs Oak Ridge Farm Highway, if you're not familiar with Mooresville, that's Highway 150. Right, cool. Then that's an external obsolescence. Do you guys know what an external obsolescence is? Okay, well, it's external. That's good, right? It's outside of the house. Something is negatively impacting the value of the property that's external to the property. You have airplanes coming 50 feet over your house landing. You back power lines. You back a busy road, so your privacy is impeded upon, and the noise factor is terrible. I-77, you can hear it from your house. You know, I don't know, you have a jail across the street. Could be a lot of different things. Those are external obsolescences. Those are things that impede on the value negatively, that you can't necessarily control. So you try to find other properties that share that. So right now, of the 4 sales, we have 3 sales that back exactly what the subject do. All right, so let's get rid of this and let's get rid of MLS. Everybody okay still with me? Are you guys on the grid? Can everyone see the grid? All right.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And then, by the way, now at this point right now, if you don't have background noise, open up your microphone if you have a question. This can be a dialogue. I will go through each of these things methodically. You do not have to wait till the end for questions, okay? But if you have a dog barking or a circus in your backyard, just mute it out so everybody else has a better experience, okay? So
it's Karen. I have a question.
go
So
ahead. Yeah.
when you were looking at the location, I always seem to look at the comps. So I know that high ticket items like windows and furnaces and hot water heaters are maintenance items, but do you look at those to see if the one price was higher because it had updated maybe equipment like that?
Yeah, we're going to look at that right now when we do the condition adjustment, Karen. But here's the thing. Maintenance items are not upgrades. It's hard to sell a house with a leaky roof or no hot water. So when you get the homeowners that are like, oh, I just spent $1,000 on a hot water system, an instant hot water system, tankless hot water heater, that's great. Hot water is going to make this house sell much easier than cold water, right? If you replace the roof on your house, that is not an upgrade. That's a working roof, right? So some of this you might get some value back, but it's going to be disproportionate to if you redid the kitchen or bathroom or just did the flooring, right? So, you know,
Yeah.
we got to factor all that stuff in. What was the one that backed the creek? Do you guys remember the address on that? Anybody? I forgot it. It was, I might have to go back on the MLS here.
I don't remember the address, but it was the 4th one, if that helped at all.
I know, it was the 4th one, but Tom hooked me up and put which was the last one that pulled out? Do you remember? You stapled this one?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, brother. Got it. Okay, cool. So yeah, it was Crimson Orchard Drive. Thank you, man. So I'm going to sideline this. This is going to be comp 4. And then I'm going to write Backs Creek. Okay. So this might not make it on the grid, or it might. We'll see. So we've got sale 1, 2, and 3. So sale 1, sale 2, sale 3. You leave these documents with them. They're stapled because my good buddy Tom stapled them for me. And they are color photos. So they're multiple pages and people can see everything that you need to see. Okay. Now I print them up. This way I don't have to have 2 screens up on my computer because I can only juggle 1 ball at a time. So I just go on the CMA grid and I put them all in here. So that's what we're going to do, guys. So we put the subject in. Let's staple the subject just for good fun. Okay. Subject, sale 1, sale 2, sale 3. At the very end of this call, I'm going to pitch you guys like you're the seller on how to get this listing. Okay. I have a reasonably good sense that if I went over there and knocked on their door, I could get their listing by lunch in a second. Like I'd be this nervous walking up because we're going to do the research it takes to go up to that door confidently. Now you might still have some anxiety, but you're not going to be outgunned. You're bringing a gun to a knife fight. All right. So that's a great way to knock on the door of a stranger's house during COVID-19 that doesn't want to see a realtor. It's a good way to enter. Okay. So I saved us some time because I was responsible and gotten here 30 minutes early, and I put the subject property in here already for us. Okay. So now I'm going to put the comps, which is time consuming, and some of you guys are going to get bored, and that's totally, totally fine. But I think this is a good time to ask questions, and it's a good time to kind of see the process and understand what the terms are. I get people that talk about patios when they mean porches. I get people that tell me that they're covered porches. All porches are covered. I mean, if it has a roof, it's called a porch. That's what makes it a porch, right? Balconies are on the 2nd floor, not on the 1st floor. Decks are different than patios. All kinds of different little terms that we use. What's a room? What's a bedroom? What dictates that? Condition, maintenance, like Karen mentioned, versus upgrades.
Rich,
Yes,
this
go
is
ahead.
Nakia. Would you explain the difference in a master bedroom and a large bedroom?
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully the master bedroom might have its own closet and bathroom in it. Definitely needs a closet if it's a bedroom, right? So if it's a suite, that would help dictate it. If not, and you grew up the way that I grew up, whoever got the biggest bedroom got the master bedroom, right? So at least in North Carolina, that's the difference. There's no difference outside of that. Master. might be split. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, I want to ask you something about that. I
Yeah.
did an open house for a house that had a ensuite bathroom for every.
Oh, I love it.
So the master is just the largest one then with the ensuite?
Yeah, it's the room that you could blindfold anybody that doesn't know anything about real estate, and that's the first one they choose. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Or it's on the first floor if you don't like stairs. Okay. So all right. So distance from the subject. As a real estate appraiser, we always try to stay within 1 mile. But if you can stay in the subdivision, ideally, that's great. I didn't do any pre-research on this house to make this an easy one. I don't know how easy it's going to be until I adjust it. But we did find comps inside in the subdivision, and I think that's going to be the majority of the houses that you sell. The minority, we will use this exact same approach. I was evaluating real estate in Florida. I was not a licensed real estate appraiser in North Carolina. It's the same exact methodology anywhere. You could drop me off in Des Moines, Iowa. And as soon as I can figure out what the adjustments are, I'm in business. Okay. So the CMA stuff is not a regional thing. It works everywhere. There's 3 approaches to value. There's a cost approach, what it costs to build the house and then depreciate it if it's older, or just not brand new at all. Right. And then there's a sales comparison approach, which is, what the comps are selling for. And then there's an income approach if it generates income, VRBO, multi-units, rented, any of that stuff. Okay. We use the sales comparison approach in residential real estate, unless the highest and best use of the property is for something else. And then we use another approach. I could do a whole nother webinar on income producing properties, rent schedules, operating income statements, cap rates. I can do a whole nother one on cost approach, what it costs to build a house and depreciate it. We can go down all these rabbit holes. I've just got to find the time to knock these out. But I think this is what we do most of the time here. So I got the address in. I got the TLC is my old team name. Let me delete that so I don't email that to you guys. And then I got a little disclosure in here that I did not run across an attorney. So you might want to run across yours, an attorney with yours. This is a CMA, not an appraisal, but a range of value established by a realtor. So no one feels like this is an appraisal, even though it looks just like an appraisal because I copied it from a sales comparison grid. The only difference is I don't have underwriters to tell me what I can't do. So mine can be very, very honest. And then I can write my own little things in here that matter. I live here out at Lake Norman, so boat houses and boat lifts are important for us. You can type in whatever you want there. It could be 1 block from NODA. You can make a location adjustment. You can make a time adjustment since the market's going up. If the market's going down, you can make a negative time adjustment. We use a technique called the successive sales method. You've got this house sells in 2006 for 300 grand. In 2008, sells again for 330. And in 2012, it sells again for 360. Well, this house is going up 10 grand per year, right? So if I have a sale that's 6 months old, I might add 5 grand to it because the market's gone up. Okay, basic principle stuff. Okay, so 211 Laurel Glen Drive. Let's check it out. Closing date. Let's see here, 8/6/20. Okay, always look for closing costs when you're looking at the closing date because it's in the same spot of the MLS. List price, $345. I like to know what the list price is, and then I like to know what the sale price is so I know how much room of negotiation we need to add on top of the number that I get here. If everybody's getting 100%, then we're going to get 100%, or they're pricing their houses too cheap. If you have 5 offers that are 100%, you might have listed the house too cheap. Sale price here, $342,500. You guys oftentimes see full list price at $345 and then $6,000 of closing costs. We got to minus that out. If the seller never got the closing cost, we minus it out always. Okay, so that's something that for sale by owners are like, oh yeah, well my neighbor sold a house for $350 in like 4 days, and I say yeah, but he also gave away $8,000 in closing cost, so he really got $342.
Rich, I have a question on that. So
Jump in, Melanie.
appraiser once told me that if it's up to 5,000 in closing costs, they don't adjust it. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, that was silly. Shouldn't have said that. I'll speak to that. Don't listen to him. Bad idea.
Okay.
Okay, or her, either one. So like realtors, there's a big group of us that we wish would leave the business. Well, appraisers and painters and plumbers and police officers and politicians, and the whole group has that group. So I don't know why you want to adjust for 5 grand on closing costs. What if the house is $60,000? That's more than 10, that's almost 10%, right? That's a big difference. So I don't subscribe to that. Now, I'm speaking to you as a realtor and a former appraiser. So for full disclosure, I am not a licensed appraiser. I'm not teaching an appraisal class. I'm just telling you my past experience. Okay. So 2003, look at that. Go ahead.
Question, where do you find out that somebody contributed closing costs?
Perfect. Good question. In our Charlotte MLS, you go to page 2 and it shows you right here, seller contribution.
So the appraiser can see that?
Yes, the appraiser has access to the MLS.
Okay.
Now, if you're talking about an appraisal on your listing, they don't know what the closing cost is unless they have the contract, which sometimes the lenders send them the contract. So here's the problem with appraising, right? So they're always looking in the rearview mirror, and here's the problem with realtors. We're always looking in the windshield, and you have to reconcile the two. But the problem with appraisers is that when they have a contract price, they have a target, and they shouldn't do that. They should let the appraiser appraise it for whatever it's worth. Now, here's the problem with that, is if you have a contract price at 360 and the appraiser comes in at 358, we missed the contract price by $2,000, and we could have probably just made the 360 because the range would support that. So, you know, it's always an imperfect system working concurrently. So every little spot that needs no adjustment, I write no adjustment. If it's the same, I don't even write no adjustment. This just keeps me from making any unnecessary errors. 0.35 acre lot size. Do you guys think that you can tell the difference between a 0.36 and a 0.35? All right, we'll leave no adjustment on there. Residential, same. This guy's a 2-story. Just so happens we're a 2-story, so we love 2 stories. And then ours is well maintained. You didn't get a chance to look at the interior pictures on mine, but I would say that it's probably a little less upgraded than all of our comps, just only by kitchen countertops. So not much, but I'm gonna write maintained. Now I'm gonna read the description here. This jewel, it's a jewel, guys. This is a nice house. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, featuring formal living room. Goes through all the stuff. It's got a fireplace, large kitchen. I'm just looking for upgrades. Enjoy covered front porch. Covered's unnecessary. Front porch. Porch is a roof. Private rear deck. Relax in the backyard alcove with fire pit. So it's got a fire pit. It's got a fenced yard. Okay, that's good information. Real good. So, oh, this is Melissa Yates. That okay, same agent. I was gonna say she sold one of the comps. This is the subject property. So I mean, she has a really logical remark section. My advice as a listing agent, not being critical of Melissa, looks like she's done a good job here so far, is don't make a logical comment section. There's nothing logical about people looking for houses. It's all emotional, 100% emotional. So that should be a very emotional remark section. They can see that it's a 4-bedroom and has a fire pit by the photos and the 4-bedroom here and all that stuff. That's all space that could be better utilized, in my personal opinion on that, okay? So, but I love that she filled out everything, just really nice, tight job. Looks like this woman is going to be much easier to work with because she's obviously sold real estate before. So I'm going through the MLS here and I'm seeing everything's lining up pretty good. So condition, I'm not going to adjust that yet. I always do condition last. All right, so total rooms. So we have a 4-bedroom house. It says 4-bedroom right here, 2.5 bathrooms. Okay, I always write 2.5. So 4-bedroom house. Now, you have a couple rooms that are not bedrooms, right? You have a dining room, she mentioned. You have a living room. You have a kitchen. You have an office. So those are 4 additional rooms that are not bedrooms. So that's an 8, 4, 2.5. What classifies a room? Well, it's got 3 walls. So if you have one of the, if you, go ahead.
So as far as the bedrooms here, on some of the larger houses, we have multiple half baths. So
Yeah.
if you do 2.5, to us, that may mean 5 half baths.
Okay, well, you can write it however you understand it, because most importantly, you want to understand what you're conveying to the seller.
Okay.
But for me, what I would do is with a 7.5 bathroom house, that means I had 6 full bathrooms and 3 half baths. I just wrote 7.5. I could write 6/3. You can, whatever you want, as long as you're consistent from the subject to all the comps. It's all semantics to me.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, no worries, all good. So this one's an 8, 5, 3. Okay, so every time you have a 5-bedroom house, it's worth more than a 4-bedroom house, right? I don't know, maybe not. I mean, it's kind of double dipping if you hit them on square footage and you hit them on a bedroom. So we got to be sure the bedroom thing is right. The other thing is if you have 1,000 square foot house and you have a 4-bedroom house, that might be a one boxy house to navigate through, and it might just look and feel better as a 3-bedroom house, right? So let's not make any assumptions. We'll leave that open for a second. I'm going to leave all the adjustments pretty much open. I'll just get it on the paper. Basement, none. Now, basements, big controversy here, right? Is it finished? Is it finished like the main floors? Is it acoustic ceiling tiles, or is it drywall? Is it a walkout basement? Is there a light in there? Are the ceilings 8 foot, 9 foot, 10 foot? Has it been permitted? Right? These are all factors we need to know. It costs a lot less to build a basement new construction than it does to build the above ground square footage. I normally adjust these out of reduced square footage unless they're unbelievable and they're walkout and you have windows on the sides and it really feels the same. I probably still adjust it for a little less unless the market tells me differently. So with basements, we single them out from square footage for that reason. Square footage, 3270 square feet. Okay. Now, one thing I would say that somebody else could be critical is I don't adjust for 100 square feet difference. Like Melanie, you know, the 5,000 thing, I don't agree with. I don't agree with that. But the 100 square feet, I don't think you guys can tell the difference between a 3,170 square foot house or a 3,270 square foot house when you walk through it. I've measured 10,000 homes. I've sold probably almost 800 listings. I can't even eyeball it that close once you get up in square footage. 500 square feet is a little bit more noticeable. So 100 square feet, I gotta give the, you know, a little bit of buffer, a learning curve there. And also the house might not have been measured perfectly, or they might have rounded up. So I just try to leave a little room there. Garage, 2-car garage. Okay. Cherry Grove, same neighborhood. So we're in the apples to apples phase here. Okay. Now let's look at the decks, patios. So this guy has an entry porch, very small, and then a large deck. So our porch was sizable. So I'm going to write entry porch. So you can just have a distinction. You can't put a rocking chair on there. And then I'm going to have deck. Okay. So is a deck and a patio work the same? I mean, one's going to last longer than the other, but one also looks nicer than the other. I think it's an offset. Okay. But let's adjust these sales. What I like about not adjusting these sales is that you can see side by side everything in a nice digestible way. And you can say, well, wow, this one's the same square footage, same bedroom, same lot size. Maybe it's the condition that makes this one 20 grand more. Okay. So let's do sale 2. So right behind the subject, sale 1, we're building our prosecuting case. Sale 2, 143 Forest Walk Way. Okay. These weren't the same street. These were the same subdivision. So I'll write same sub.
Hey, Rich, I had a question, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
While you're typing.
Sure.
So on the, do you adjust for any salary repairs that are shown there?
For any, well, we don't know what the repairs are on these things unless they listed it on the MLS.
Well, actually, unless it was also closed, you're showing.
Well, you know, so Adrian, the closed sales, normally those repairs get summed up in some kind of seller concession. You know, they credit or they fix it. If they fixed it, then it's a non-issue. And if it's a credit, we'll minus it out under the seller contribution.
Okay. Yeah, because in Arizona, they have the seller's concessions, and then they put seller repairs. So
yeah, they're just clear about it. As long as we make the adjustment and see it, doesn't really matter what language they use, but it's a good question. Now, so to answer your question on the subject, just by the way, is that if the subject has a structural crack in it and it's $8,000 to fix this, right? The appraiser will say that there's a cost to cure this repair. And they'll note on the appraisal that based on a structural engineer and a general contractor, it will cost $8,000 to fix this structural repair. And then they will minus out that $8,000 for the cost to cure. And then if the subject fixes the repair, they charge for an additional inspection to go out there and take a picture and monitor that it's been fixed, and then they can adjust it from there. Okay. Closing date. Now I'm talking Florida rules. I've sold enough real estate in North Carolina to where I say that this is all conveying over to North Carolina. If you're in California watching this on YouTube 2 months from now and you disagree with me on that, you can put it in the comment section, but I don't know how they do it in California. Okay. So talk to your local appraiser, but we'll get like 80 or 90% of what's relevant to you right here on this. And there'll be little slight changes on there. So this one had no closing cost either, which is very good. 828.20. So let's just say we are in September. So these are very recent sales. These closed last month. It's good. All right. List price 310. Days on the market 12. Okay, let me look at our audience here. We have 87 people. All right, so I haven't lost a lot of you guys yet. That's a good sign. So, okay, so we have 305. I know that this is a little mundane here, so open up your mics. I'm glad you guys are talking and asking questions because we can kind of do 2 in 1 if you want to.
I have another question then for you, Rich.
Good.
As far as counting the total rooms in the house,
Yes.
sometimes, okay, so it's very obvious a living room, that you know, dining room, kitchen. But what about those other rooms, like maybe an indoor den, or I call it like a porch? Is that
Yeah.
considered another full room when it's not the size? You know, it could be very small. Maybe you just get a chair or 2 in there. Is
Yeah.
that another room?
It'd be a small room, but yeah, it's a room. Or you could just put it as I wouldn't say the screen porch because outside air gets in, but like a glass room.
No,
Or
on
like,
the inside. So you may have
oh yeah,
that's interior and then part that's exterior. So for the
yeah,
one on the inside that, you know, we would call a den, is that
yeah,
considered another room?
yeah. I would say so. And the other thing is you're not even going to adjust for it. So if you're wrong, it's no big deal.
Okay.
We don't adjust for total rooms because we're adjusting at the square footage.
Right. Okay.
But you know, just because I was an appraiser and that was on the sales comparison grid, I fill this in. Most people, I've taught this how to do CMAs. My best CMA student is Stephen Custer. He was a brand new agent 3 years ago. He was a personal trainer at the gym that I worked at. He's a young guy. He's 30-ish. And I was like, no one's going to hire, at the time he was 27, 28. I'm like, no one's going to hire a 28-year-old guy to sell $800,000 houses. So we better get him pretty bulletproof. So I taught him how to do CMAs, and he is so strong on these. Like, he's going to ask me my opinion. Actually, he probably disagree with me on some of these things, which is, I love his conviction on this. He's a master at it. And he went after 4 sell by owners and expireds and Iconed last year at EXP. So if you're with EXP, that means you got his $16,000 back. That means he did a lot of volume, is all I'm really saying. And then anyway, he doesn't put in the total number because he hates having to count it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't affect him. 2696 square feet. All right. Garage 2, same as us. Cherry Grove, same neighborhood. All right. So let me go down a rabbit hole for 1 second. I grab this form and the comps. I go get the listing. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do this, right? But no presentations, no pictures of myself on the business card, no slideshows and graphs and charts. I go there and talk brass facts, right? I get the listing, I sell it. I send this to the buyer's agent when they're starting to tell me that they understand what the value is, just to show them that we've done our research, digest it, see what you think, right? Then I go meet the appraiser with this to make sure the appraiser coming from another county knows that I'm on the ball and we're going to rock and roll with this. I have 0 appraisal issues. 0. We use this form all the way throughout the process. Okay. So, all right, Cherry Grove, let's see what this guy has a small porch. I would say an entry porch. Okay. Porches to build right now are probably $30 a square foot. Just give you a rough idea. And then this guy's he's got a small, a deck in there. It's not a large one. Right. So,
Did you say you meet with the appraiser? I thought it was supposed to be like an impartial, objective opinion, and that kind of like makes that not the case.
well, I don't think it makes it not the case. It makes it not the case if I do the appraisal. But I mean, I'm allowed to provide information to the appraiser to use discernment on.
Okay.
So they don't get mad. Typically, it depends. If I go over there and say, hey, this is what the house is worth. These are the 3 comps you should see in 2 weeks. I don't think that works well. But I go there and say, hey, listen, I've been selling real estate for a long time. I try to do my best job at evaluating the real estate. I pull closed sales. I make sure the condition's comparable. I put it on this little homemade grid that I made, and I present it to you with total respect in case you didn't have the comps on you or you wanted to consider this in your report. It does 2 things. 1, it provides information, and 2, lets them know that I'm not asleep at the wheel. So that's kind of my approach on that.
Rich, do you always meet them personally, or do you leave that in a note? You leave that on the counter for the appraisal?
sometimes they don't want to meet you. They hate realtors.
Yeah, I know
So-
they do. That's what I,
so,
that's what
yeah.
I usually leave it there because I didn't know
You
if
can
we
leave it.
supposed to encounter them or not.
Yeah, you can leave it. No big deal. Leave it on the dining room with a note. What I do is as soon as I get the showing instruction from the appraiser, I email it to them and then I go meet them over there if they have a time on there. If they don't have a time, then I'm out of luck. But I'm trying. And the other thing is that my seller knows that I'm trying. That's never a bad thing.
Can you describe what you mean by entry porch versus?
Yeah. I can, absolutely. So if you look at the subject's photos, they have a very large porch where you can put a couple rocking chairs
Okay.
and have a conversation and put your umbrella down and your groceries down if the garage door is broken. And then these guys here have to not be able to socially distance to walk under there.
Okay. Got it.
I'm not saying there's a big difference in value. I'm just noting it. Okay. So, all right. So we got 2 sales on. How are we doing on time? 10:47. I'm running slow. So keep asking questions. I'm going to knock this one out a little faster with my primitive typing skills. I'll do my best.
Rich, I have a question specific to Florida.
Good.
So I'm in like the Fort Lauderdale, Delray Beach.
That's where I was an appraiser.
Right. Okay. So you're gonna know exactly what I'm trying to say here. It's a little bit like the Wild Wild West, trying to figure out what's going on. The
Florida in general.
houses are somewhat like I'm trying to figure out. I've only been here about a year now, but I'm
Okay.
trying to figure out how to, when I'm pricing houses, or when I'm just looking at houses, let's say, I can't figure out why one is, do appraisers adjust for, I would assume they do, for being closer to the ocean than not closer to the ocean?
Absolutely. Location.
Okay. Yeah, you'd think that. But then like these houses that I've been looking at, if I go 4, miles west, they're the same price, similar house, than they are right near the ocean, like a couple blocks away. So I'm trying to figure out like how to adjust for, you've got, if you're so far east toward the ocean, why is it, I can't figure that part out.
You're never going to make sense of the market because you have realtors that have taken 90 hours of real estate classes in there establishing best guess prices. You got emotional sellers that think their house is the best house on the block. You got emotional buyers that want everything for nothing. You got good and bad appraisers going out there as the safety, the kind of like crossing T's, dotting I's balance thing. You got mortgage brokers that are laying on appraisers. You got all kinds of things going on. To me, the answer to that is it's irrelevant what's happening 4 miles away. Who cares? Pull comps in that neighborhood for those houses, pull comps in this neighborhood for that house. You'll never make sense of it. It'll drive you crazy.
So I guess like the people that are looking out a little bit further west, when we go west, because they're thinking, oh, it's too expensive east, so we're going to go a little west. And I'm like, well, the prices are the same.
So that's good. I'm okay. So I'm glad you said that. So as a consultant, what you say is, listen, I haven't been able to make any sense of the market of why out west the houses are the same price as out east. And I know being closer to the ocean is overall a better decision and a better investment. So my suggestion to you is that we look at the homes that are priced the same closer to the ocean. Now, one of the factors that could be affecting you in South Florida is flood zones, insurance premiums on those houses, taxes, school districts, all of that type of stuff.
Yeah, they're all bad. So, all right, one more question. I'm sorry.
Nothing to apologize. This is what this is for.
Change subjects. I've got a little comment for you, if that's okay.
Go ahead, Sheila. Jump in real quick, and then we'll go right back.
So remember, Florida is unique, and you need to understand what's important to the customer. Are they a beach water person, or are they a golf country club person?
Right.
That could be your differential between water going for the same price as golf country club, because the value to the individual is just as important.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I didn't want to change topics without getting you 2 cents.
Sheila, don't apologize for doing exactly what we asked you to do. So, perfect. So listen, so I was an appraiser in Dade County, Broward County, and Palm Beach County. And, you know, Loxahatchee could be the same price per square foot as, you know, well, I wouldn't say Delray Beach, but it could be Lake Worth or any of these Boca, parts of West Boca. So it's real nuanced. You know, I lived in Wilton Manors, and I used to flip houses, and I flipped $29 million of real estate in Broward County from 23 years old to when I left at 28, 5 years. So I would work all day as an appraiser, and then I would flip houses all night and weekends. I had no personal life outside of sometimes going out and meeting my friends at 10 or 11 at night, getting back at 3 in the morning, skipping sleep, and painting. Right. So I did this for years. And, you know, Wilton Manors is for 800 square foot houses at the time were $450, and you could move to Sunrise, Florida and buy a 2,800 square foot house with a pool for $450. Right. So it made more sense then, but the location was always the driving factor. So like in Charlotte, to give the Charlotte agents, because there's more of us here in Charlotte than other spots, a house in Noda is going to be different than a mill house in downtown Mooresville. They might look the same if you took pictures of both of them. But one is walking distance to breweries and bars and nice restaurants and happening things. And the other one, you drive to work, right? So these are always driving factors. And what makes it so good as a real estate agent is you start to understand this with time, or you never understand parts of it. So what I always considered, like for me, is I always focused on selling real estate in Mooresville. I wanted to know one place very, very well and be an expert, right? So as a listing agent, you don't really have to be an expert on anything but evaluation. But as a buyer's agent, you have to be an expert because you're steering people in directions. And they say there's no steering in business, but there's a consulting, there is. And you have to consult them based on what they give you back, and you digest that feedback and you suggest areas for them to look at. And, you know, the way that I look at this is that, you know, if people are very important, it's very important to them to have country clubs and stuff like that. I'm going to show them houses in the Point versus an equally priced house on the lake that's a no HOA and is a little bit smaller. I'm not steering, I'm listening. I'm telling them this is what the amenities look like. So, you know, I like being a listing agent when I was new, which is, I know, a little counterintuitive because I didn't have to know as much. I just had to be an expert in that one subdivision. And then, you know, I go to the county and make sure that no one's, you know, there's no material facts I'm missing, but it was a much easier confidence. All right, so it's 10:53, we're doing fine. Now we're going to adjust these. So is everybody on the same page? Anybody have any questions before we get into this part? All right, we're doing good. For 86 people, you guys are very, very good on sound. This is quieter than anything else I deal with. Okay, so you can still see the screen? Okay, good. Okay, so
Time to think.
What's up, Nakia? You guys are probably quiet because Nakia's got this thing under control.
No, I was going to say we can see it.
Okay, good deal. Thank you, dear. So, okay, so 2003 to 2004. Okay, we're 2020. Everybody that hasn't replaced the roof is probably starting to approach that. Hot water heaters are changing. Style's different. Some people are updating and making their Craftsman house more modern. Never understand that. I like modern. I just don't understand cross lines like that. But people are doing stuff. Hardwood floors, laminate floors, carpet's been replaced a few times, paint's been done. Okay, some landscaping has been done. So these houses all being the same thing have the same handicap. It's great. Lot size. You notice sale 3, which is the highest sale, has the largest lot, double the lot. Okay, so who's that comparable to? So 3188, wow, that's just like sale 1. And they have a 3-bathroom, and they have a 3.5 bathroom, and they have a 5, and they have a 4, close. Otherwise, they look almost identical, right? So the difference between these two houses, where do you think that falls? Probably in the lot size. It's the one distinguishable difference. All right. So 360. Yep. So okay. So 365 and 342 looks like it's a 20-something $1,000 adjustment, maybe, right? So let's just play. Let's just minus 20 grand because it's half a lot. Now I know Mooresville pretty well, and what we would do is go in the MLS and go under land value, land search, and see if there's any vacant lots that sold in Cherry Grove. I promise you there's none, right? So we see that the lots are being assessed on the tax roll at $35,000, $40,000 a lot. So that's for a 0.35 acre lot. This is double. So maybe they're evaluating this at 15,000. Maybe I'm high at 20. but let's just keep it in there because that's what the market looks like it's showing is the main difference between these two properties, right? So let's look at sale 1, 3 bedrooms versus 2.5
Rich,
bathrooms.
hang on a second. So just
Okay.
back up. I'm trying to see where you got the 20,000. So you're looking at from the
Okay.
345 to the 379.
Okay, so the 0.71 to the 0.35 acre lot, sale 1 and sale 3 look like twins to me, more or less. Okay, but there is a difference in price, and the only difference that we can see between the two properties is this one's twice the lot size.
Got it. So that's where you're
The-
coming up with the 20,000 from the.
I mean, yeah, what's cool about this situation, which I didn't know was going to happen for us, but it doesn't take an appraiser to realize that the one difference is where probably some of that money is. Okay, so that's what's so nice about having them on an open grid is that some of this common sense that we table because we get all nervous about CMAs comes back to us. We're able to just sit back and observe. Okay, so I was up with my 2 boys this morning. We go in our playroom and they dance the kung fu fighting, and I just sit there and drink my coffee and I watch. And in that 10 minutes, I understand everything that I need to understand about where they're at that day. That's it. All we're doing is just watching this. Okay, so half bathroom, right? So when you have 2 stories, you normally have a bathroom in the master. You normally have a bathroom for the other bedrooms that are, in this case, typically upstairs. And then you have a half bathroom downstairs for a guest or anybody that doesn't want to go upstairs, right? So you have a 2.5 bathroom. And then sometimes you have a full bathroom down there, right? So the difference between those two is about a $3,000 adjustment in this neighborhood. How did I come up with that number? Well, we would have put up 10 or 12 or 15 of these sales side by side on the grid just in a practice period. Would have taken us 2 hours. We would have gone and had lunch, cleared our head, come back and looked at this and say, well, look, these 2 sales are the same exact difference. They're even the same lot size. The only difference is the bathroom. And there was a $3,000 difference in price. And that repeated itself 2 or 3 different times. So it looks like a half bathroom's worth maybe $2,000 to $4,000 difference. Okay? This isn't precise. It's just much more precise than what we're doing if we're not doing this. Okay? So I'm not using a scope and a sniper rifle. I'm using, without a scope, a rifle at a far distance, but I'm not throwing a hand grenade and hoping that the price per square foot might, at some average, you know, I see realtors all the time and they're always putting medians. And I'm like, okay, well then you're just an average agent. You're going to get them the average price. And the difference between me and you is that I'm going to go to the seller and show them that we're going to push the market forward. And they're not going to get any sense of average from me, even if I turn them off or they totally commit. And we're not, at no point we're going to blend in like wallpaper. Okay, so don't use medians. To be dynamic is very important to separate yourself from the other 15,000 agents in the Charlotte MLS. All right. When I always hear that there's all these new agents coming in, I'm like, great. We're just going to shine a little shinier. Okay. So take it at a different angle. So -3 for the half bathroom. Square footage. Well, these guys are almost the exact same square footage. We don't adjust for $100 a square foot, but this guy here is a good bit smaller than these guys, right? So let me just sit on that for a second. Okay. So this guy's got a 3 bathroom. So let's -3 grand for him. And this one's got a full extra bathroom. So let's -6, 2 half bathrooms. Okay. So now we see our range. Look at this, sale 1 and sale 3 that we thought were pretty much twins outside of the lot size. They're adjusting out to be twins again.
Is there any adjustment for the number of bedrooms?
Maybe. We'll look at this square footage adjustment and then see if that looks like it's warranted. If this 5 bedroom's sitting up kind of in left field and we made the adjustments for all the square footage, then perhaps there is. So let's just hang on for that for 1 second, okay? But good question. So now the only difference that we have is, well, we have a no fence and a no fence. We'll put I put no adjustment. A fence is worth something, probably not a whole lot. You know, to build a little split rail wood fence like this, you know, 15 years ago, or even more recently, it was probably $2,000 or $3,000. Now that fence is old. So let's just add $1,000. Knowing the price of stuff is helpful to keep as a guide. I don't think the market's even specific enough to notice this 1,000, but we'll just keep it there, okay? The seller is going to think that his fence is important, so we made note of it, or her fence. Porch patio. So we have a regular sized porch. These guys have tiny little porches and they have decks. A deck and a little flat patio, I'm going to say, are an offset. So we're really just going to adjust for the porch size. And these little porches are about 25 square feet, and this nice porch is about 100 square feet. So that's 75 square feet. So 75 square feet times $25 is what it would cost to build it right now. That's about an $1,875 difference. So let's just add 1,500 because these aren't brand new homes, but it's expensive to build one. All right, so that's where we're at there, okay? So here's the good thing is that, you know, pretty small adjustments. This is a hard case to beat right now. So the biggest thing that we haven't adjusted is, why is this house $35,000 less than these guys? Well, probably because it's, 600 square feet smaller, right? So let's just see if we can figure out what that adjustment looks like. And I'm only using 3 sales, but if we used 8, it can give you an idea of the approach of this, right? So let's just look at that. So we've got 600 square feet and 35,000. So 35,000 divided by 600. $58.33 is the difference in the square footage. Okay, so let's just go $58, right? So let's go to the subject. 3,062 minus 2696 is 366 square feet difference. The subject is bigger. We're going to times that by $58, and we're going to adjust this guy 21,228. All right. So it looks like that adjustment, despite that sales 1 and 3 versus them are warning this difference, it looks like that puts us a little light on square footage, right? So I'm just going to push it to 60. But it doesn't have to be perfect, and we don't want to over manipulate this CMA because of things that it looks like. Well, it's pretty much the same thing. It's a 21,960. All right, so let's just take a real quick pause. Why did we minus? Because this one's better than. So if it's better than the subject, you never adjust the subject, ever. It's crazy to do that. We're trying to figure out what this is worth. So sale 3, bigger lot size, if it's better, we subtract. If it's got more bathrooms, we subtract. If it has lesser than, we add. It doesn't have a fence. Same all across the board. So right now we have a range of 326 to 341. They were listed for 324 and spent half a year with a no-go, right? So what house is most similar to the subject? How should we weigh this? 2/3 of the comps support a 340 number. So let's go back to our earlier observations. First of all, let's see if the subject has a master bedroom, a main, oh, by the way, I think it was Lynn. The 5th bedroom might actually make a difference in value. Look, he's the highest one. Let's minus 5,000 for that. So 3,000 for the half bathroom and 5 for the half bath. So that's 336. It's kind of spreading us out a little bit more. So master bedroom on the 2nd floor for the subject, master bedroom on the 2nd floor for sale 1, master bedroom on the floor for second 2, and this one has 2 master bedrooms. Someone mentioned that earlier, right? That might be a nice little caveat. So we'll put that in, we didn't see that. We're gonna write 2nd master. So how important is that these days? Let's just minus out. Now, I don't know what this is worth. Total guess, everything we're driving. I'll say $5,000, and I'm taking a total guess, okay? But how many people have their college kids with all that debt living at the house, or an aging parent, right? So I think that would be a benefit and really separate them from the other houses. The $5,000, $1,000, or $10,000. I mean, you can crucify me on that. I don't know, but I'm just going to minus 5 just to tighten the range up a little bit. So it looks like they're all about the same. So let's just say the smallest houses are normally the most per square foot, right? So the larger the house, when you're going up in square footage, it's a little cheaper, and it's not a lot more lumber to go out 10 feet. So you're always going to see that the price per square foot's higher. This one is kind of not making sense. I think that we went too low on the square footage adjustment. This should be probably more like $70 or $75, but these 2 sales here support otherwise. And I'd rather the market dictate what it is. So let's go to the estimated range, and we're going to go 326 to 336. So we have a $10,000 margin. So the most probable sale price, would you guys, if you were splitting the difference, you would say just a hair over 330. But when we looked at the information, we had 2 active listings in the subdivision, both in the 4s. We had everything's under contract. We had closed sales selling in less than 10 days. We have a market that's appreciated since, March of this year. We have pent up buyer demand. We have record low interest rates. We have no inventory. Let's push this thing. Let's just say it's closer to 335. Now, this part's pretty cool. Let's check this out. So 325 divided by the list price, the sale price divided by the list price is 99.27%. So I'm going to write that down. 99.27%. I write it down right underneath the house in this little spot that I got. Okay. Sale 2, 305 divided by 310, 98.38%. Written. Sale 3, 365 divided by 379, 96.3%. So we have a 96.3, a 98.3, and a 99.27. Let's add those numbers. 99.2 plus 98.3 plus 96.3 equals 293 divided by 3. So we are about a 98% list to sale price based on our recent research. So that 2% difference is the wiggle room that we need to land at market value. So let's take our 335 times it by 1.02. We're recording this, so don't worry, you can go back on it. List price 341,700. I just call it a 340. Why do I like 340 more than I like 341,700, even though that makes me look better? Well, it's sort of precise, and this isn't a perfectly precise process. Real estate appraisers have ranges, and we lean based on our experience of the market and all the factors. But in addition, anyone looking from a house from 310 to 340, this is going to pop up in the search. And anybody looking at a house from 340 to 370, this is going to pop up in that same search. So I like trying to straddle the fence on that. All right. So, Mrs. Seller, I saw that you were listed for sale and last year and struck out and took it off the market in March. You did 177 days. You gave it probably a 6-month listing. It didn't work out and you put yourself on the sidelines. I understand. COVID happened and it stopped all the buyer base. And then when the buyers came out, they ate up all the inventory and we are out of inventory. Now, the 400 realtors that just got out of school that called you back when this expired and put you into therapy, they've all stopped calling you. But I just want to let you know that we could probably sell this house in 10 days. And I want to show you why. The average days on the market of the most comparable 3 sales that sold in this subdivision, you might know your neighbors, 10 days, 12 days, 22 days. We only need 30 days to sell this thing. They're selling on average for 98% of the list price. The value of your property based on the comps, when we adjust them line by line, the most accurately we can do is that your sale price, your house is worth 335, 10 grand more than what they struck out at. So I wanted to add the 2% on there and list it for 340. And I want you to experiment with me for 30 days. I'm going to spend about $1,500 in photography and virtual tours and aerials and measurements and all this other stuff. Sponsored ads on Facebook. I'm going to have a direct landing page. We get unlimited landing pages here at our company. So I'll create a landing page with just your house and you can share it with your friends and family and we'll cross-pollinate on social media. And we're going to sell this house in probably 2 weeks. And we're going to sell it for probably around 335. And I'm going to use this illustration to combat every buyer's agent and appraiser and everybody in the process that second guesses what our numbers are, because I feel pretty confident that we're at where we're at. We're going to have open houses on every Saturday so I can scoop up some buyers and maybe sell this house on our own. And if we sell it, both sides, I will be a dual agent. Here's a brochure that explains that. And I will drop the commission from 6 to 5. And if what I just said there makes you irate, then I won't drop it from 6 to 5, whatever you want. Okay. So that is basically how to do a CMA on a very easy case. And I didn't try to make this easy. I just pulled a house in a neighborhood that I sold houses in that subdivision. Now they get much more complicated. When they get more complicated, what do? We add more comps. We go sales 4 through 6. And we start to build out a case. If you're confused about what the value is, I promise you, your seller has no idea. Okay. All right. Q&A. 11:11. Doing good.
Well, Rich, it's Karen again. Thank
Karen, I know that you're a C personality type. I expect you to ask lots of questions.
Of course. Thank you. So the biggest challenge is coming up with what the adjustment value is. You know,
Yes.
what you said, what's a second bedroom worth? What's a fence worth? What's a 2-car garage over a 3-car garage? You know, the lot sizes, things like that. So that's my biggest challenge. And then the other question that I have for you, and I think I already know the answer to this, is do you adjust, I mean, is flooring? So whether it's pre-finished, whether it's luxury vinyl, whether it's whatever, is that all at the same price? And then the third question is, does an appraiser value for condition? So when I asked the question about the updated furnace and the roof, we know that those aren't added price points, but don't they also get a higher number on the ticker of the condition that would raise the appraisal up? And if so, how is that adjusted?
So the answer is if the market wants it, right? I mean, when you're talking about 15-year-old houses here, everybody's got a new hot water heater. And if they don't, it'll come up on the home inspection and the buyer will probably negotiate that in. So I find that to be sort of a little redundant. As far as condition adjustments, yes, if any of these houses have gotten a brand new quartz countertops and white appliances with gold hardware and the Pinterest lights on the top and the place under lighting and looks amazing, yeah, I mean, that might be $35,000 to do that. The market will show that another house with a killer kitchen sold for 20 grand more than the rest, so we minus 20. When it comes down to how do we get the adjustments, well, the only one that I was able to illustrate on this little grid was, it was pretty obvious what the lot size adjustment could be. And we also kind of used that approach for the sales square footage. But the way that you do that is by taking properties that have one major difference between the two of them and seeing what the number is between what they sold for and assigning it to that value, and then testing that theory with many other illustrations to see what those numbers are. And it's time consuming. There's a book that appraisers reference called the Marshall and Swift book. I think it's Marshall Swift or Marshall and Swift. They've been using it for years. You can get that book and that as a template. In Charlotte, I can give you ranges. Like, you know, a 4-car garage in a $2 million house versus an 8-car garage might be a different adjustment than what each garage bay would be worth at a $400,000 house. Or at an $80,000 house, a carport might not be worth anything versus a garage, a 1-car garage. They might be the same value. It just depends on how accurate the market's showing and how much data you have to research. So, you know, those adjustments is where all the time comes in. Now, I've been doing this for 15 years in this neighborhood, so I have kind of a cheat sheet in my head of where to start, and then I can go back, and if I'm nervous on an adjustment, like I'm very nervous on the second master adjustment, I would go try to find second master homes and then do another little CMA that just shows what that difference could be. So at least I have something to support my data.
When you go and meet with the subject property, the client, do you ask them for any feedback as to why they feel the house didn't sell or what their experience was?
Yeah, I'm being a little abrupt and curt on this call because I'm talking with language that we use to realtors that understand the way things go. So I'm being probably a little bit more casual than I would be, but yeah, I mean, but I'm pretty direct to start with. So here's what it sounds like for me. I would go up to this property, and by the way, someone should go get this listing because we did the CMA for you, and I'm going to send this as the example for all of you to have a CMA, and you're going to have to minus out all these, delete all these boxes in here. So all you do is don't delete it, print it, and go get them. But what I would do is I'd knock on the door, and Flores was the owner's name, and I'd say, you know, Mr. Flores, you know, I'm an experienced real estate agent in Mooresville, and I would give a little bit of my resume, not to be narcissistic, but just to say, you know, this isn't my first rodeo, and your house is worth $10,000 more than what you try to sell it for this year, and I'm not sure if you're aware of that. And it's probably because of one of two issues. One, you know, you hired a realtor that you weren't crazy about, and that's the catalyst of why this didn't work out, which happens all the time. And then the other is that you didn't like what your realtor was saying, and you didn't take their advice, and you steered the ship, and the realtor might have been right, or you might both been wrong, or both been right. It didn't clash, clashed pretty bad. So one of those two things are typically what happens. Which one is it? Did you have a realtor that let you down, didn't answer your calls back, didn't give you consultation, didn't give you updates, didn't do what they promised? And let them talk. And normally it's that. Even if it's not true, it's normally that. And then what you say is, well, there's a few that I spotted out on the listing that I thought could be improved on a second go around. On this specific listing, I don't think she did anything wrong. Like if Melissa was on our team, I'd say, Melissa, you are a victim of your timing. You listed it in fall of last year and the holidays happened, and you're at that competitive $325,000 price range. There's a lot on the inventory, but COVID fixed your problem. So go back at this and take another stab at it if the relationship's still good. And if it's not, go back and say, hey, look, I think I missed the ball. I had a blind spot. I don't like being wrong. I took another look at this. I crunched more numbers. I think this is where we're at. Don't give me 6 months this time. Give me 30 days. I don't know. Does that help at all?
Yeah, it was just I think it was a post-licensing class, and the guy's been a realtor for 20 years, and he said a lot of times with expired, so many people approach them to get their listing, and he said, if you just say, what happened? Yeah, what happened? And I'm just curious, because this neighborhood's never had a problem, and so and I've been around the block, so I just would really like to know what happened, and just let him talk and say, well, thank you very much. If you decide you would like to try again, let me have the opportunity to explain, and you just hand the card and walk away. And he said, odds are they will come back and say, or call you and say, yeah, or call you back up to the door. But, by not going with a kind of full on pressure thing and you're just saying what happened, you just want to have that for knowledge that it was a winning thing. So that's why I was curious if you asked.
Yeah, I don't. That's not my style. I think it's a good approach. I don't think odds are they're going to call you, though. I think that's an optimistic response. But I think it's a good approach. But I don't think that people are looking for a passive realtor. They might say they are. They might like them better. But I think essentially I don't think you hire a lawyer when you're going into a big court case that is an easy like Sunday morning lawyer. I think that what you hire is somebody that at least feels pretty confident that they can get the job done in a short period of time, and they're not going to show a lot of flash and get right down to brass tacks. At least that's what works for me. That other approach might work for him. And you know what? If he's super charming and cool and funny and it all works good, I bet you it works great. There's 1,000 ways to approach this. You see how many, we have a 1.5% of this country is making hundreds of thousands of dollars in the real estate business, and they're all different approaches, different styles. For me, I just say be in alignment. When I teach this thing, don't try to be like me. First of all, why would you want to? And then second of all, that works great for me, right? But be you, but be in alignment. And, so for me, that would be disingenuous, because I really don't care what their thoughts are on why it didn't sell, because I don't think that they understand why it didn't sell. So for me, that's disingenuous. But for me, what I do care about is that we're able to get them more money and let them move on to the next chapter of their lives and not have this house as a hindrance to what their life goals are. That's where I'm more tuned in. And I think that when the clients that hired me, because I wasn't hired by everybody, were exposed to my style, I think they felt like if they could take this away is, we've got a guy who can probably get the job done. Now, do we want to get the job done? And do we have one more go around in us? And, so it's whatever works. I'll tell you what doesn't work: doing neither. Okay. Anybody else?
Hey, Rich, can you speak to maybe a time adjustment? Do you do those? Like if one of these comps was from May and you only had 2 from August, what would you do price-wise for an adjustment there for time?
Yeah, good question. So when you see on the appraisal reports, it says the market's declining, it's stable, or it's appreciating. Appraisers almost always put stable because underwriters don't like to see time adjustments. They feel like the appraisal's being driven by a trend, by a push. So, which I disagree with, and doesn't mean that I'm right, but the market does go up and down. And if you're not doing a time adjustment, you're saying it doesn't. So I think right now we're in an appreciating market. I also think we're in a bubble, and I think things are going to pop, but I've been saying that for 2 years and I've been wrong. So take that with a grain of salt. So whether I like it or not, or understand it or not, I think that the market is appreciating in certain price ranges pretty heavily. So what you do is you take a sale that's sold, because some people get into a house and for some reasons have to leave it. You try to group up as many sales that sold, the same house sold twice in a short period of time. And you take all of the ones that you could find in the subdivision, and then you start averaging out what that increase was. I mean, if someone put a $40,000 kitchen in and sold for $60,000 more, you want to factor in that kitchen. But if they were in the house 8 months and it looks like it's relatively the same house on both closed listings, then you can start getting an idea. Often too, there's all kinds of news data that's showing you what we're appreciating in Charlotte, but that's a broad brush. That's factoring in lakefront properties and first-time home buyers and the whole deal. So August to October, I don't know. It's not even really August if you think about it. They probably went under contract in July or June. So you're here listed in September, and now it's 2 months. So it's not as recent to support your point more. It's even older, but no, I probably wouldn't put a time adjustment on a month or two. Okay, but on 6 months or 8 months, I'd look very, very seriously into doing that.
Sure.
Okay, and then like when the market does break, a negative time adjustment is going to be important. Okay.
Right. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Rich, what do you put on like a shed, if there's a shed in the backyard?
Take a picture of it, look at Lowe's, see what they're charging, and if it's 20 years old, put $500. And if it's a $8,000 metal building with electric and concrete pad to it, you might adjust separately. Call a shed building or a manufacturer or a contractor and say, hey, listen, I got a 10-year-old metal shed. This thing cost $8,000. What are you buying these things for? Do a little bit of research on there. I think a general contractor is the most important number to have in your phone, because price to fix things is what the seller thinks. So for me to put a shed in the backyard, if it costs me $10,000, how much more is my house worth than the neighbor who has no shed? $10,000. Is that true? I don't know. But at least we're starting to narrow it down to some reasonable numbers. What is a shed? What's a big shed like that go for? Well, we have to maybe go back. Look, if I can't find what a shed's worth because no house is sold with a shed that I was able to make that distinction in 2019, I'll go back to 2017 and pull closed sales from March to October, see if I found somebody with a shed, and in hindsight, kind of do an old CMA on what that shed was worth back then. At least I have something. You're not going to be perfect, but that's why there's a range. But I can tell you one thing, if we did price per square foot well, let's do that real quick. Just curious. I hadn't thought about this. Price per square foot, 342,500 sale one, divided by 3270. That's 104.74. Okay, so someone remember 105. 305 divided by 2696. Somebody remember 113 for sale two, and 365 divided by 3188, 114 for sale three. So 114 plus 113 plus 105, that's 332 divided by 3. That's $110 a square foot. $110 a square foot times 3,062, which is the subject square footage, puts us at 338. Worked out good this time. Don't use price per square foot and it'll come out exactly where I think we're at. But, that's because we're talking about tract homes, of apples to apples. So it worked out fine. If all these houses were on the lake, we could be $150,000 off from each one based on the depth of the cove, the exposure of the sun going down, all of that stuff. Okay. So you cross-check things though. Like just the fact that we cross-check that and we're at 338, I mean, that does make us feel a little bit better about this, doesn't it? Even if it's just a hair. So, okay. Anybody else have any other questions?
A question, Rich. It's kind of not on the appraisal, but so going back to say the original furnace or whatever. So here you are and you've got this and for some reason it's not moving. And do you ever recommend, so just say that it's a house with one furnace and it's going to be, you know, $7,000 to $8,000 to replace that furnace. The feedback is saying, you know, everybody else has got an updated furnace, yours is old. My client doesn't have the money to pay for it, but they're approved for more money. What would you do with that? Because a lot of times people will automatically adjust the price by $5,000 in a blank, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if they could actually put a brand new furnace in there and possibly sell it with that, is that something you would ever recommend to say, go to Home Depot or Lowe's and, you know, do their 6 months same as cash, get it paid off when the house sells instead of reducing the house? Does that make any sense?
It makes sense if it makes sense. I mean, it depends on if you believe in your stomach that you can get $8,000 back for a new furnace and you're going to have them gamble and spend the money on a 0% interest rate and you're wrong, you're going to lose the listing and you're going to you know, expedite the opinion of what realtors are like in the start. I always take a safer approach on that. You know, if I could tell you, I've had houses with old furnaces and every feedback is all different. It's never about that. You might get one that says the mechanicals are old, but everybody else is going to say price too high because I don't know. They can't tell you that it's priced accurately. Otherwise, you'll negotiate differently. I don't know. But they're not going to know why. And they haven't done a CMA on these houses. They looked at 25 houses that day. They have no idea what this house is worth. They're going off a feeling, a guess, right? So you know, frankly, to be honest with you, I wouldn't do that. Doesn't mean that you wouldn't be right if you did do it, but I mean, I would let the home inspector dictate that the economic life and lifespan of that furnace is done and deal with it in the home inspection, because I'd rather deal with it during the home inspection because I already have due diligence money and they're already telling their friends they bought a house and they have stuff in boxes already. It's a lot easier to get a deal done when there's skin in the game than in the hypothetical world, you know? So that's my take on that. Now, here's the other thing. Let's just talk about this real quick. We list for $340. And in 20 days, we haven't sold. And I'm sitting there saying, okay, I got 10 days left on the market. I'm pretty confident that I'm right, yet I'm wrong. And they think I'm right, and they think I'm wrong now. I've got 10 days left. Do I hit them for a price drop, right? So my answer is probably not. If your communication's been pretty good with them and you've been doing open houses and they see that you're working at it and the showings are going to be high, at that point, you sit there and you do a review of feedback. You don't hit them for a price drop and you say, listen, in feedback, you know, the market is not doing the work that we did. So they're going off the cuff. And it looks like if we reduce the price 1% or 2%, that's all we need to be right in the pocket here based on what's going on. Bless you, Tom. So you always use percentage points when you're trying to get them down in price. It's a lot less painful than saying, oh, you got to come down $6,000 or $7,000. Okay. Now, if you're the buyer's agent, you say, hey, listen, they just came down $7,000. They didn't come down 2 percentage points. So, okay. Hold on 1 second. Hey, Tom, can you grab that book? So, my wife just dropped off To Kill a Mockingbird for Tom's daughter. She's got a school project. So, thank you, babe. So anyway, what you got to do is you always use percentage points when you're trying to drop the price. You know, if I'm 100% perfect, we'll end up at 335. And if I'm way off, and what I mean way off, I'm 98% right, we'll end up at 329. You know? So start using some phrasing there to help give yourself a little bit of room to move. It's not a perfect process. I think if most of us had 98% accuracy in everything that we touched, we would be superhuman. Okay. Any other questions?
Also,
yep.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about how you would compare lakefront properties, or how you would appraise or come up with the price on those?
Yeah, so on the MLS search, I will go from doing a search criteria to using a map. And I will pull comparable lakefront properties first, and then and then start looking for similarities on age, construction style, all the stuff that we typically look at first. So that's the most important thing, is like on a map. Hold on, I stopped share. Let me share screen again real quick. Desktop, okay, hold on. I don't know if I have the time because I was supposed to stop at 11:30, but what we do is under the map and pull in properties that have some. If you have a main channel view, you don't want to be comparing it to people at the end of a cove. If you have a sunset view, you try to get other sunset views, you might have to settle on a sunrise view. And I would start earmarking. So like if I had a house for $1 million, they were listed for $1 million and they struck out. I pull homes from 800 to 1.2, and then I would click on the ones that are all within comparable water views, and then I would filter through there to find homes that look actually like the house. What people that are looking for lakefront properties, and I sold mostly lakefront properties, what people are looking for lakefront properties is they're looking for water and then a house that they can deal with. Unless their budget's at a certain point where they get everything. You know, for 900 grand in Mooresville, you're not getting a house that you love. You're getting a lot that you love, right? For 1.7, you're getting a house that you like a lot and a lot that you love. For 2.4, you're getting a house you love on a lot you love. So that's where the case comes in. You're going to have buyers that are going to sacrifice on house and go for a lot, and you're going to have buyers that are going to want lot. I mean, want the house and sacrifice on the view. And they're two very different buyers, but they're going to look at a lot of the same crossover listings. So just try to compare apples to apples on the lot size, because that buyer that ultimately chooses the view that you have will be looking at that narrowed field. So if you have a house that's on a cove that's a beautiful house and at 900 grand, they're at some point in the process going to say, listen, we love these sunset views of these houses, but I can't live in 1,800 square foot property with 5 kids, right? So ultimately, we're gonna choose house over water. So we're gonna be looking at houses that are on the end of coves or don't have the views that the smaller houses have. Now that's a list of 9 houses, and you're priced as the best house in that group.
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And now I have another one too on condos. So if you're talking about luxury condos, and say in a building, you have prices from 800 to 3.4 million, but the square footage is not really that different. Is that really based on the views?
Yeah, and the floor level.
Floor level, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, floor level, exposure, amounts of windows, sunlight, corner units, views, and upgrades.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, last call.
This is super helpful. Thank you so much for doing this.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for attending. I thought we were going to get like 10 people on here. I think at one point we had 82. 82, Nakia.
Rich. Great information. Thank you as usual. We just want to let everyone know that we are going to publish the recording, and it will appear on YouTube on Rich Tomasini's channel. So when you have a chance, when you finish, if you want to go over to Rich's YouTube channel and just click subscribe, you will get notifications when he posts new videos. All right. It's Rich Tomasini, RICHTOMASINI at youtube.com. Just put his name in the search bar and just click subscribe on his channel.
Thank you so much, Nakia. Always making my life easier. I don't know how many times I can say that in this world. So I am going, Nakia, real quick, all these emails in the chat box, is there a way that we can cut and copy this?
Yeah, we have it. It will come to you in a text in your email.
Beautiful. Yeah. I'll get this out to a mass email in the next 2 days or 3 days, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Hey, Rich.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes. Hey, Brandon.
Hey, what's up, man?
Not much, brother.
Hey, I've been mowing the grass and listening to you.
Okay.
Good stuff. Hey, I was wondering, I wasn't able to chat. Are you going to post this also on the Facebook group page?
Yep.
Like the link to it? I got a couple of people that wanted to join in, but were busy, and so they'd love to catch the recording on the back end.
I'll publish the YouTube video right on there.
Okay, cool.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you, buddy. See ya. Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Peace out. Bye.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.